Welcome back to a best of 5 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Terran versus Protoss, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on Ultra Love, and again we have the player in red spawning in the top right on the red side of the map, and then the player in blue, well, he goes by the name of Clem. He has spawned on the blue side of the map. Right here in the top right hand corner though, we have the new number 1 Protoss on the planet. The man who's been impressing me the most over the last few months. We're looking inside of the main of Classic. Now, this particular series is the quarterfinals of the Esports World Cup. So a $700,000 tournament. Everything is on the line here because the loser of this series is eliminated out of the tournament. Now, sadly for me, I know who ended up winning this one, but I'm hoping at least, well, maybe not everybody knows, right? And as per usual, journey before destination. It is all about the games, and the results, I mean, they matter. But I haven't had a personal in-depth look at, this particular series just yet. What in the world is going on here at Classic? We've got ourselves a double gateway start. Man, I can't help but notice. This isn't even a problem right now, is it? I can't help but notice that in all of the games from the EWC that I've seen, so there's always a game like this. It's weird. This is not the norm at all. Classic may want to go for an expansion still, but he's got 2 gateways. Normally, this is what you do in a Protoss versus Protoss, right? In Protoss versus Protoss, it's quite common to go for a double gateway start. In PvT, that's not quite the norm. Clem may be looking at this and he may be feeling really smug right now. He may be feeling very smart. He's forced out of third base as his very first opponent. It's like, it's nicely done, bro. But you're very soon going to have to deal with some units. What is it going to be? Is it going to be Adepts or Stalkers? It will be 2 Adepts for now. In the meantime, on the other side, Clem has decided to go for the single gas approach, actually. A delayed command center start. So a rather quick factory. Skipping out on the Reaper, though. Yeah, it's going to be an SCV here. As Clem is feeling like he can be a little bit punchy. Fair enough. Can we make a command center eventually too, though, Clem? I kind of feel like we need one. Okay, we're doing all of this off of a single gas geyser, meaning that he needs to deal a lot of damage with this, because obviously you fall behind quite quickly if you do not. Now, the third Nexus, it is not quite in the optimal location. It will be quite difficult for Classic to split his units appropriately. But if he just keeps on chrono boosting out workers, he should be able to grab an advantage in that regard. Clem actually inviting his opponent into the main base. That French hospitality, you know? World-renowned. Oh, gets one of the Marines, though. Gets one of the Adepts as well. Good little trade. Yeah, you get invited into the Terran main base so you can die. It's a little sad. Anyways, command center now is about halfway done. Adepts are super annoying though, and at this point Clem must realize that something funky has happened. The problem is, he wants to go for a drop. He wants to go for a Hellion drop inside of the main base of the Protoss, and he's busy dancing at his own main base's ramp. Any of the Hellions killed right now is fantastic for Classic. He doesn't quite know it, but those units were effectively planned to fly into the main base. It takes 3 Hellions to one-shot a worker. If you only have 2, well, believe it or not, you can't one-shot. So this is completely shutting down the early game for Clem, who delayed his command center for all of this. Classic did a great job preparing, man, for a lot of these games. You wouldn't go double gateway like this unless you expected that maybe something fishy could be coming up. Yeah, now you have to just sort of awkwardly bring the medevac back home. He's also flying the starport the long way around. This is the flight of shame right over here for Clem. God, that starport pilot must feel so embarrassed. All right, well, Cyclone is coming up now. At least there was a way to get the units out of the base. And this is unscouted, and keep in mind that the third base is far away from the main. As a matter of fact, there's very few units in general. Classic is setting himself up to maybe intercept this at some point, but maybe the Hellions can actually achieve something right over here. Careful clumping up those workers, Classic. Stalkers, though, did get recalled straight on over here again. 6 probes is much better than no probes. Those Hellions don't have a lot of longevity. Nice body block right there by Classic. Also inviting his opponent into the main base and then decided to shut the door in his face. Still, it's 6 workers killed, yes, but it came at the cost of now 6 Hellions in total. And obviously the worker kills were originally planned for several minutes before this point. So it's much easier to replace probes at this phase in the game than it was at like 3.5 minutes, right? So let's see. Cyclones together with Marines, really quite nice. Obviously though, recall at this point is on cooldown. It will still be on cooldown for like another minute. So Clem might be able to get some proper damage done. Shield battery though needs to be protected. At the same time, there is a large group of Stalkers. Classic decides that the best way to fight fire is with fire, as the Terran units now arrive over at that 3rd base. We do still have the Stalkers though dancing around, and his orbital command actually needs to be very careful. Stalkers do deal quite a lot of damage, and it's already running pretty low. Still though, there is now a siege tank out. Cyclones deal a lot of damage. I love the Marauder in the mix too. Medevac drop not really achieving all too much. Reinforcing Stalkers seem to have gotten rid of most of the units over there. It's a long reinforcing path right here for Classic. But he has now arrived with some new Stalkers. And honestly, Classic is navigating this game brilliantly so far. He needs to be careful. Oh my god, he decides to blink forward. I wonder if that was a little bit overly aggressive. Finally, he does kill one of those 2 tanks, but that came at the cost of a whole lot of Stalkers. In the meantime, a 3rd base does start up. Medevac drop is heading on over towards the 3rd base too, so hopefully here for Clem, he's going to be able to put in some counter-attack damage. Okay. Looks like the Medevac got sniped down by freshly warped-in Stalkers. And that means that the Marines are just turning their guns to whatever they can hit, as they are also accepting death. Still, 10 workers there in the end. It is, again, better than nothing. 16 probes, 13 SCVs. A lot of lost damage, though, on both sides, and a lot of lost troops as well. There's an observer up above. I think Clem did see it. Decides to retreat the position. Didn't have a scan available, or couldn't really afford a scan there to get rid of it. Another Medevac is sneaking out through the right side. Classic needs to be extremely cautious though, because most of those Stalkers will hit... well, if they get hit by a siege tank, they can just get absolutely destroyed. Still, if he can get the Stimpack, oh, that is a big snipe. Dude, Classic is on another level right now. Just the right amount of aggressiveness, just the right amount of greed, gets a siege tank as well for his troubles. I thought that push into the main base was going to be too much. Well, I was proven wrong. He gets Stimpack and a siege tank. Can't really hope for much more. Escapes with, I think, pretty much all minus maybe 1. Can he also intercept the Medevac? Look at him. He's hurting everything. Okay. Looks like Clem will be able to sustain it for the time being, though. Main problem here for Protoss, well, is that he needs to buy time for Storm to be done, right? So he's got himself that 3rd Nexus. He has spent a lot of money here on infrastructure and on tech and on upgrades and all the rest of it, but none of it has really kicked in yet. Still though, by shutting down the Stimpack research, it's just so hard for Terran to actually go for an attack. Any push that Terrans go for, at least at this stage in the game, effectively leans on this upgrade. You need it. You can't really pivot into a timing attack without Stimpack. So, yeah, Classic playing this out really well. He knows he's got himself some time to get the Storm upgrade done, and he's not even bothering chrono boosting it. No, it'll tick along. Have trust. You can just believe that it will finish, and at some point it will. Clem just hoping to get a free kill there on literally quite anything, but he's having a tough time. Well, he did build a 3rd command center, and the 3rd command center is about, I want to say 80% of the way done. Classic doesn't know of it, but what Classic does have, though, is a plane with 2 High Templar inside of it. Looks like we've got some stormy weather coming your way very soon. A bunch of the SCVs are actually still relatively low in HP, too, so as soon as that Prism moves in, I can imagine that Clem is going to be in a world of trouble. Here we go. Storm drops. Ooh, a bit greedy there. Did get 8 SCVs, though, for his troubles. Oh, my God. Gets 18. That was one more Storm available. At least the Prism goes down, it seems. All right. That's nice, but that has already more than paid for itself. I feel like that's one of the first major mistakes we have seen, or at least one of the first avoidable mistakes right here that we have seen from Classic. He can now just fight this Terran army in the middle of the map. He doesn't know it though, and that's a big deal too, right? So, oh, now he sees it. Siege tank's not yet sieged up. High Templar not yet in position either though. What about this push in the main base? Looks like we do have the energy recharge used on the shield battery. Clem wants to try and see if maybe he can get a kill though on a Nexus, and that would be a really big deal. High Templar inside of the plane. Don't underestimate them. He decides to fly the Prism in to deal as much friendly fire as possible. Aggressive blink forward as well. This is a pretty insane fight there for Classic, but also for all intents and purposes like a Hail Mary play there from Clem. Yeah, that was supposed to win the game, and the army just got wiped off the map. Next up, we find ourselves on Persephone. Classic is looking like an absolute monster. You know how sometimes when you watch a game of StarCraft, you think to yourself, what do you even do against it? He honestly made Clem look like a bit of a fool. And Clem's Terran versus Protoss is considered to be best in the world. That wasn't even a close game. Now, there's a lot of people complaining about balance, right? I mean, TVP mid-game especially seems to be one of the main problems right now. I'm hoping that at some point in a future balance patch, we are going to see some of that addressed. But the majority of that game did not take place in the mid-game. Classic seemed to have a very good control over the early game too, and I think he navigated that really well. Great prep. Going for a double gateway start, it really only makes sense if you expected your opponent would go for something like, for example, what Clem ended up going for. So yeah, Classic doing his homework, figuring out what the opponent might be going for, coming up with a counter, and then also executing on a very complex setup. It was nicely done. Now we're sending the probe in a rather curious way across the map too. Not the fastest way to get across, but still something that he might be able to get information out of. Maybe just anticipating that there could be a proxy as well on that side of the map, or maybe just thinking that there might be something happening on the other side. Either way, everything here is very normal, right? So nothing all too crazy for Clem this time around. No, and that is sloppy. That is very sloppy. Protoss players gonna Protoss every once in a while, huh? I feel like a lot of the top-level Protoss players do have those moments where they suddenly think back of the days that they were in, Platinum League, and they're like, ooh, what if I just, do something stupid for a little bit? How about, yeah, I love that. That's a great idea. It's more noticeable, I feel like, with Protoss, because Protoss has 12 units in the early game, whereas the other races tend to have a whole lot more, so it's not as significant, right? If a Reaper goes down, I mean, don't tell the guy over here, but nobody really cares if the Reaper goes down. It's really not that big of a deal. Losing a scouting work, no, is certainly a little bit messy. Either way, Adept goes across the map right now. There's already a bunker, though, so Clem just playing it as safely as he can here. Twilight Council for Classic. Jimmy. Jimmy, no! Jimmy exploded. The Adept is gone, and you're not going to be able to find it very easily. So, should just be good old Blink here once more for Classic. No surprise there. It is just the very best, most well-rounded strategy across the board. So, we just have a super normal start here for both players. Looks like we are going to mess around with a Hellion again, but probably mostly for scouting purposes. Looks like the follow-up for Clem is going to be a Widowmine drop. Sentry here, no longer being rushed out. Notice how sentries are still played quite a bit with their hallucinated phoenixes. But the days of going for a sentry first build seem to be mostly gone. Although I still feel like they are viable, just a bit greedy. Maybe it doesn't make sense on a stage as big as this one, right? If you're playing in the EWC, maybe don't risk it all on a sentry first type of opener. But hallucinated phoenixes are phenomenal. Getting the energy recharge on the sentry just to look around the map a lot is big. And I think it's mostly just a refinement. Protoss players figuring out that they really don't need so much intel early on. As long as you can see this sort of stuff. And this could be a perfect scout here for Classic. I mean, it's a perfect timing. Just slightly mispositioned and he can't possibly know. Yeah, that was a very well thought out movement right there by Classic, but he didn't quite see exactly what's happening. Still though, he did already put his units in position regardless of scouting it. Looks like, ooh, one of the Stalkers goes down. Looks like one of the probes will go down as well. Hellion in the meantime in a natural expansion gets an additional worker kill too. Not a bad start right here for Clem though this time around, but also not really the one that you're dreaming of, right? I mean, yeah, 4 probes and a Stalker for all of this. It's not terrible. Actually, I didn't realize he lost the medevac. Okay, yeah, no, with the medevac going down, it's actually a deficit for Terran. It's not what you want. Stimpec again, though. In a pretty aggressively positioned location. Raven together with the upgrade. I did see the upgrade, right? Although he may have canceled it. Maybe he was just faking the Banshee follow-up here. Fair enough. Raven is going to be set up to drop a bunch of those auto turrets down. They tend to accumulate a lot of damage over the course of the game until a Terran eventually all army hotkeys and the Raven just sort of dies. All right, Templar Archives again together with Charge. Stimpec, +1, combat shields, the whole shebang right here for Clem too. This is that lull in this matchup where generally neither player can really... Oh, that was extremely slow reaction speed right there from Classic. I guess he was busy trying to deal with the auto turret. A couple Stalkers, though. Out front. Yeah, Ravens are quite nice, but they're now going to be parked over here. Basically, the idea is that you just accumulate energy and then drop it down. You drop down an auto turret every once in a while. Maybe 2, maybe 3, depending on how much energy you have. A couple Marines do get picked off. Now, though, Terran is just about to hit a big power spike, right? These upgrades are big. Clem trying to see if maybe he can get a surround on some of those units, but, I mean, they have Blink, so it's going to be difficult to catch them. Clem a bit indecisive. Okay, he wants to go around the site and get the confirmed kill right now on those Stalkers. Looks like... Ooh, Classic. Hello. Classic, we need to be a little quicker, man. It's a little bit slow on some of this movement. Yeah, and it does force him now to lose a bunch of units because of it. Now, Storm once more is coming, right? So, we are like maybe 3 Stalkers more down than we need to be, but this is still an army that can technically defend against this type of attack. But we have seen Clem win games with this exact push over and over and over again. The first Storm doesn't deal a ton of damage. There are a lot of charge slots available too, though. And I quite like this transition here from Classic. It's extremely difficult for Terran to decide if they want to push in. Zealots just deal so much damage. High Templar, obviously, also not to be underestimated. This is a very killable army, although he doesn't know that the medevacs have decided to move out. No 4th Nexus yet, though. And this is a theme in Classic's play. Classic has been delaying his 4th as of late in favor of more tech and more units. So, yeah, not an easy way for Clem to secure a kill on a base when the base doesn't exist yet. Storm? We need to get a Storm. Okay, if Terran decides to move in, that is, you do need to make sure you storm anything you can hit. Already, though, the Ghost Academy is coming up. 3rd Command Center is flying on down towards the low ground, too. No 4th Nexus over here on the left either. So you can kind of tell here that Clem is a bit confused. He's thinking, yo, you're supposed to have a 4th base now. Where is it? Classic apparently not too concerned about it. Happily macroing up on just 3 bases for the time being. And it changes the dynamic of the follow-up here quite a bit. Normally, Terran can secure a kill with multitasking, especially Clem. He's known for his multitasking, but now there's really nothing to kill for him. A drop in the main base would be extremely YOLO. Ooh, so we do have, once more... Man, it happened so quick that I didn't even notice it. Looks like, at least for my sake, Clem also didn't notice it, so that helps. Yeah, these drops, man, I love the 2 Zealots and then the Storm. Ay, ay, ay. It's so brutal, man. Storm drops are so sick. I love Storm Drops. There's something about them. That was one High Templar. One High Templar. You can afford splitting one of your High Templar off, right? They kill stuff so freaking fast. Well, obviously, that also makes up the eco advantage, right? Like, basically, the plan was to obtain an economical advantage. Normally, you do so by getting a 4th Nexus up nice and early. Now, Classic is saying, no, you know what? I can do the same thing with a cheeky little Storm Drop instead. This guy does have energy for one more. There we go. Yeah, just point wherever you want stuff to die, I suppose. Ghost production has begun now, and this is good, though, here by Clem. So Clem losing a lot of workers, but also dishing out quite a bit of damage in the meantime on the other side. Storm is so brutal. Big push over here, moving towards the 4th. Classic taking it in a rather curious position, and it looks like this is going to be a cancel. No, maybe not. Drop in the main base does get denied, and indeed the cancel does happen. Okay, decent force field. Mostly just here, though, to try and shove this away. Little Zealot run by in the meantime on the other side of the map. It's so weird, because Protoss is supposed to have a 4th base at this point. Terran's supposed to be thinking about making a 4th base at this point. Classic, comfortably getting double upgrades, going into double Colossus production, getting the robotics upgrade as well for the ranged for those Colossi, and eventually we might be thinking about making a 4th. But he's effectively securing the eco advantage by destroying the opponent's economy instead. Should be less reliable, but it seems to be working out for him so far. Okay. Raven goes through again. Obviously, auto turrets can be denied as well with a feedback. Okay. Second NG Bay together with the armory now, as Clem is trying to come to terms with the way that this game is going. I guess we need to continue upgrading. I wonder if he could add on a 4th command center, though. I think it's fine. Normally, you don't really need a 4th command center until Protoss gets their own. But I think by now, Clem could certainly build up a 4th Nexus of his own, or a 4th CC of his own, rather. Get it done. Yeah, there we go. Slightly after the Protoss is finishing up their 4th. It's important, though, that Clem did get the council on that one base. Because if the 4th over here was now up and mining, this would be a disaster for him. This is a different approach, though, than what we normally see from Protoss players, right? A lot of Protoss players currently in the mid-game are effectively swarming all over the Terran with a superior economy and then just a whole lot of Stalker Zealots. That is not what Classic is going for in this case. He's focusing on tech instead. Much less eco, but a lot, well, more of a beefy army. And now suddenly, it looks like he's ready for a push. Gets one of the ghosts sliced in half. Terran army is very split up on the map right now, and I think Clem is kind of trying to figure out what in the world is going on in this game here. Nice flank here, though. Big EMP on a lot of those Templar. Not nearly as many storms available, and this surround right here from Clem is looking good. But does he have the numbers? That's my main question, because Protoss has been building army for a very, very long time. It looks like he does. Additional Zealots do show up, but the Prism at this point is gone, so that is not going to allow Classic an easy way to reinforce. That was about the best engagement Clem could have ever hoped for. Coming in from all of these sides, getting a perfect EMP on a lot of the units too. That makes this game once more very playable for him. Okay, so he's going to get the 4th base set up. In the meantime, on the other side, Classic only just now securing his own 4th mineral line. Raven flying around this section of the map. Only a few hit points intact, but that'll be the end of it. Didn't really have that many secured kills, I suppose. Now Classic, though, is going to have to rebuild his very high-tech army. And that's kind of the problem with these high-tech armies. They take a long time to produce, right? When you have to, like, make an observer, a prism, whatever. Those units, like, they take time in the robo facility. And it sounds a bit silly. You don't really run into this problem with Terran and with Zerg, but just occupying time in the robo facility that could have gone to Colossus, Immortal, any sort of other production is quite significant. It takes a while for Classic to be able to rebuild this type of army. Both players identical in supply right now. Planetary Fortress, though, has been set up over at the 4th base. Imagine that previous fight, though, with a slightly better start for Classic. I think this game may have actually been over. Clem, though, manages to stay in here and now grabs the supply lead for the first time, I think, in this entire series. Or at least the first time where it seems to matter. EMP obviously is a phenomenal way to counter those very expensive, well, Templar units, right? Anything that has energy can be shut down by a Ghost. Those High Templar are prime targets. Archons are phenomenal. Zealots are really good. Honestly, anything Protoss is good to hit with EMP. Anything that has shields, which is literally every single Protoss unit. Okay. Immortal production, though, has now begun, and I quite like that here for Classic. It could go into Disruptors as well. Disruptors are, of course, well, they have shields, but they have a cooldown rather than an energy-based spell that they cast. Classic now decides to go for some multi-pronged, well, expansion, though, right? So he's taking a whole load of bases all at the same time, as he's now making that transition towards the more conventional style that we usually see from Protoss right now in the mid-game. Clem may already be thinking about the same thing, though. He's adding on additional command centers of his own. Personal cloaking for the Ghosts coming up. Wouldn't be surprised to see additional starports happening here in just a moment, as he will likely be thinking about Liberators in the late game. Liberators are very good at this type of army. But look, now we have 8 additional gateways. So, Classic effectively arriving at the exact same point, but the way in which he got there is very different from the Ordinary. It's kind of awesome. I really like the way that Classic has been playing lately. Not just in this matchup, but it's just so much more free-flowing. No council, it seems, on that Nexus, though, so that's a bit expensive. Zealot run by in the main base. We are starting to arrive at the point, though, that both players have quite a bit of money. Fusion Core coming up here for Clem. Liberator production, indeed, has now kicked in, so we'll probably see him get the ranged upgrade, maybe the Medevac energy regen as well. The upgrade for the Medevacs in the Fusion Core. Probe production also kicking in again, so Classic is hoping to get a higher number of probes here eventually. What Clem doesn't know, though, is that, yeah, he got the kill on one of the bases on the right just now, but that was Classic heavily expanding all over the map, taking a whole lot of bases at the same time. Sometimes you believe you get a big advantage in a game of StarCraft because you got a kill on your opponent's newly acquired expansion, but if they're making like 3 at the same time, I mean, it really doesn't matter that much. That's an ambitiously positioned pylon. Looks like a cybercore, or sorry, a command center, a CC, is going to be set up right next to it in just a moment. Classic, though, is looking dangerous here. His army is really good. We are fighting in a choke point. High Templar far in the back. They are going to be casting storms here eventually. He's inviting the Terran army right now into this choke. Clemdo doing a good job microing a lot of these units. Decides to give up on this position for now, but he's already sniped quite a few of the Colossi. Liberator numbers are growing. If we get up to like a dozen Liberators, it'll be nearly impossible for Classic to commit with an army like this. And Classic is hitting his opponent right as those Liberators are starting to spawn. Okay, some really juicy storms again. Look at all those gateways kicking in as well. It's looking like the Legacy of the Void opening cinematic here. And suddenly, like what, 16 Zealots get warped in? An Immortal chasing down whatever it can hit over there. It looks like Classic is starting to overwhelm the natural expansion too. And what started off as a decent engagement here for Clem is now resulting in a lot of losses. Classic just suddenly flipping the script immediately, right? I mean, he was like a half minute away from getting overwhelmed by Liberators. It's so difficult to fight into Libs. Even though the way that Terran navigated this game has been different than the norm, Classic still recognized when that transition was going to happen. And he strikes right when the iron is hot. Honestly, again, a very impressive push there by Classic. Okay, the next map in this best of 5 series is Pylon. Match point here for Classic. So far, Classic certainly is looking like the better player, but Clem has not made it easy for him. I feel like in general, Clem, not just in his actual games, but also in a tournament series and in a tournament in general, he's a very momentum-based player, meaning that, like, he likes to pile on and layer up the aggression, right? So if he cannot really get the ball rolling right now, it tends to sort of slip out of his fingers. I don't have the stats to back it up, but I feel like whenever Clem is 2-0 behind in a series, there are some players out there that are really good at clutching it out and actually, like, completing a reverse sweep. But in my head, Clem is not really one of them. Now, maybe he has done it too. I'm sure he has done it too, but it's difficult. It's difficult. This is a absolute must-win right now, though, for him. And with the way that Classic has been playing lately, it's looking quite difficult to achieve something like that when he is feeling good. Well, he doesn't really need to do anything too crazy for now, right? So what's really interesting in that previous game was the 4th base timing of Classic. The fact that Classic just did not care about getting a 4th base up at the normal time, right? Whatever we deem to be the normal time in 2025, and instead just relied on counter damage instead, is really cool. You can tell that Clem was kind of scratching his head against it too, right? He was just wondering, like, what in the world do I even do against it? He set up an attack towards one of the potential 4th bases, and then the alternative 4th base too. But there was no 4th base, and Classic didn't make one for several minutes. And he's been doing this as well in Protoss versus Zerg. So oftentimes, like, his 4th and his 5th base seem to be quite late. But then when he takes one of them, he just takes all of them in one go. It seems like the 4th base, there's a big delay between the 3rd and the 4th, and then he takes, like, the 4th, 5th, 6th. Like, he takes all of that in rapid succession. And it's a really cool playstyle, because you get just a lot more units out and a lot more tech out in the meantime, and then I can't quite make up my mind, right? Is it actually good? Or is it only good because we normally don't see it, right? Is this just like an adjustment that players have to get used to, maybe have to scout for? Or is it actually like what we should have been doing all along? I think it's probably the second. But there is a chance that there are just simply... Like, what if Clem decided to just make a super quick 4th command center of his own? What if Clem did not go for the aggression, but just decided to make a 4th CC? I don't know if Classic really had an easy way of dealing with it. I think that's probably what you should do as a Terran there, but I don't know. And that's obviously the tricky part, right? Do you really want to be experimenting at this stage of a tournament? Again, this is the quarterfinals of the EWC. There's a lot of money on the line. Is this the time to be experimenting? I'm sure Classic has been experimenting against it, so I'm sure he's got a plan if the opponent does decide to go for a 4th. So yeah, maybe don't do that. Maybe don't. All right, anyways, it's gonna be Blink. Cyclone this time around for Clem. Always nice to get the ball rolling with the Cyclone. It does mean, though, that we're not going to be seeing a Widowmine drop, at least not anytime soon. Great, Hallucinated Phoenix Scout. He's going to know that this is pretty much always going to be a medevac. The only question is, it's like a booster pack, you know? What is going to be inside of the medevac? Is it going to be Widowmines? This is like the StarCraft 2 loot box right over here. What do you get out of the medevac as a Protoss? It could be a leftover Reaper, a bunch of Marines, a Widowmine in there. Is it going to be a Cyclone? Will there be Hellions? A little bit of StarCraft 2 gotcha over here for Protoss. You never know what you're going to get. Maybe it'll be a shiny Marine. Well, either way, your answer with this type of opener is Stalkers. Protoss is used to go Stargate openers quite frequently too in this matchup, and we do still see it from time to time. With Phoenix builds, you can shut this sort of thing down relatively easily, but lately Protoss players have been feeling confident with the ways that they can defend it, just using the good old Stalker. And yeah, Clem not willing to put his tournament life on the line with one silly medevac drop. He decides to, well, try to go back home. Classic, though, has got Blink finishing up right about right now. And Clem is like, yo, hey, this wasn't part of the deal. At least he dropped off the Cyclone, but that was still expensive. Great interception right there by Classic, who's done playing around. He was playing the cautious Protoss there for a little bit too long, But then Blink finished, and he's now gonna lead this attack with one of the Stalkers to tank the damage from that Siege tank. Good control here again by Classic, who's in the meantime also forced to deal with a little bit of aggression with a Hellion and also a single Reaper. What about these Stalkers, though? There's, by the way, no third base here for Classic. He's gonna be able to get the Cyclone for his troubles here eventually too, but there's no third base. Instead, we have a Templar Archives together with Charge and a bunch of additional gates. Third starts up now. Much like the fourth in the previous game, Classic is delaying it. He's delaying it in favor of more units, in favor of, well, faster Storm. I don't think Clem can really go for an attack until Stimpec is done. Yeah, and I think it's only just now going to start up. We just have whatever damage he can deal over here. Cloak Banshees, though, go in. And maybe this will finally allow Clem a little bit of movement out on the map again. So far, I feel like he's been playing catch-up. Still, though, these Cloak Banshees, despite being technically countered, there's detection, there's Stalkers, they still get a good bit of damage done. Looks like the tech lab over here was sniped, or maybe it was a reactor, but... Stimpec indeed starts up now. Combat shields will probably not be far off either. +1 attacks inside of the engineering bay. But these upgrades need to be done before Terran can really go for a big timing attack. And I mean, Storm is already finishing. This Storm upgrade is so freaking quick. I guess we're gonna go for Storm drops, right? I mean, that would make a lot of sense. He does have a robo facility, so I wouldn't mind seeing a Prism start up here in just a moment. Those Storm drops have been awfully effective. There it is. A private jet for the High Templar. These guys are high all the time, and they get a private plane regardless. That's pretty cool, dude. What's really cool about it is these dudes, they literally levitate. Like, they're already flying. Do you think they're gonna be flying inside of the flying plane as well? Like, how does this work? Anyways, here we go. I think, maybe. Or not. Interesting moment to be attacking, though. I mean, it doesn't really line up with anything. Storm's been done for a while already. I don't know if Classic wants to go for the army or if he's thinking about dealing eco damage. Bunch of the High Templar did not quite get a seat on the jet. But this is most definitely the upper class of Protoss. Now we are going to go for the mineral line. Mineral field depleted. Time to whip out your umbrella, Clem. Clem, your umbrella! Oh, all right. Classic is a merciful god. Maybe he's faking it. Maybe he's doing it on purpose. He's like, yo, I definitely don't have I do have High Templar, ha! Well, Vikings trying their best. This is a clumsy engagement, though, but we do get some really nice storms. I wonder if Classic is sort of opening himself up to like a concave like this. Love that EMP there. It's gonna make it difficult for Classic to really capitalize on this. And I don't believe that this attack is working out all too well right now for our South Korean Protoss. Still trying to squeeze as much juice out of this attack as possible, though. Clem, not entirely sure that everything is actually already safe, as he decides to go into the SCV pool as well, but okay. All right. Okay. So Storm, by the way, hasn't been changed, right? Storm has become very, very prevalent over the last few months again, ever since the energy recharge on the Nexus. So Protoss players have been loving this particular ability. It allows you to get High Templar with Storm out way quicker. Maybe not quite as powerful as the Kydarian Amulet from the Wings of Liberty days, but... or the Brood War days, I suppose. Which are still ongoing. But still. Oh, that's a little sloppy right there on that particular thing. Okay, well, another good EMP, though, from Clem, trying to move in. Okay, the High Templar are sniped. Terran Bio Army still lives. I love the guitar guy, by the way, in the background, just jamming out casually to this absolute bloodbath of a TVP. Ultimately, though, here, as the dust settles, this is a much better spot for Clem. Not only did Protoss delay their own expansion for all of that attack, Clem held it, and he didn't really slow himself down all too much. In a very strange way, normally Clem, right, he gets an advantage in these matchups by being the aggressor, but now he got to use his, like, timing attack defensively. Like, Classic basically got across the map as Stimpack +1 and Combat Shield finished up. So Clem is going to be able to actually move around the map a little bit more confidently now. Still needs to be careful, though. Big Zealot run by here on the left side of the map. Only a single Widow Mine available. What about this choke point? You got to be so cautious. And in a blink of an eye, you can lose an entire middle line. That's 12 SCVs down, just like that. Command Center here, also building in a very vulnerable location. Not really something that you can be too confident in. And, well, 17 workers is a lot. Ghosts are also dying. Keep in mind, Ghosts are really expensive. Good defense right there by Clem, who picks them up again and again just to save them and micro them for as much and as long as possible. But, I mean, getting 17 worker kills, it puts Classic out on the map again, right? This is totally fine for him. +2 coming up here for Clem. 4th Command Center did not get fully denied, so at least he's going to be able to finish that one up. Don't know if you're going to be brave enough to go planetary here, or maybe you should go for an orbital just to try and play catch-up in the eco game, but 77 workers is good here for Classic. No 5th Nexus this time around. Clem going for a YOLO drop into the main base. Not a whole lot to defend against it. Looks like Classic was preparing for exactly such a play. Recall right now into the main base. Counterattack as well over at the 4th. Is there enough, though, here for Clem to actually get real damage done? Well, it looks like this Nexus, it is going to go down. Yeah, he wants the Nexus and then also the probes. Nicely done right here by Clem, who ends up cornering all of those units. Okay. 30 workers go down. 30 workers and a base. Now, the majority of the medevacs in the main base also got destroyed. Not a whole lot of units maintained anymore over here, or they're no longer around over here, but Storm apparently also outranges this. Aye. Storm's so freaking good, man. Bro's just dipping close to the Nexus, gets some new energy, and storms again. This is the main problem here for Clem. He needs to be able to deal with the incoming attack from Protoss. I'm pretty sure here that no matter what, Classic is ready to put it all on the line with one big push. And this is still a Protoss army that needs to be respected. I mean, it's 4 Colossi, there's 7 High Templar, 19 Stalkers. Theoretically, Clem does have an army that can deal with it, but this is a super high-tech Protoss force. And it's all about the fight. Clem scans, drops, sees that there's no remake on the 4th base. Instead, Classic is spending his money on additional High Templar. Let's see. Can we actually get damage done? Fighting onto a planetary might not be the play. He sees the planetary now, decides to back up. Classic, though, still, okay, not remaking the base until just now. He's looking for an opportunity to fight. Clem covering all of his bases very nicely thus far. Vikings here are going to be absolutely critical. If Archons can be underneath, or Storms can, well, blanket anything, really, but especially the Vikings. The Colossi are so dangerous. Good EMP, but not really hitting all too much. Yeah, this Terran army is not really well equipped to be fighting this of the Protoss. Great splits right here across the High Templar too in general. He's got so many of them that he can just lose a few and still have Storms to boot. 8 SCVs end up going down. Command Center decides to return a little bit overly ambitiously. Clem maybe accidentally boxing it around. And he's going to lose the orbital. That's expensive. Clem has got 8 ghosts. He's going up to 10. I think it's too many. This many ghosts is a lot of supply. Like, ghosts are 3 supply each these days. They used to be 2 for a long time, and this doesn't really look like an army of a 190-ish supply Terran, right? Like, it does look a little bit flimsy. Not a lot of energy available either in the Medivacs. Only 4 of them, so the Terran army is just a bit fragile. Classic now has his new base up and running. Actually decides to continue probe production again too. Clem is thinking about going in for the counterattack. Recall is always an option here for Classic. If he doesn't realize it, I mean, he could just overwhelm the natural. Indecisive movement here, though, by both players, honestly. But I'm liking the movement here across the map a little bit better for Classic. Good EMP, but there's so many Templar. This choke point is just not one you can actually protect. Loads of workers are going down, though. A small hit squad here for Clem, dealing so much damage, but the orbital command falls. Clem has almost played himself into a corner, but it looks like Classic decides to give him some maneuverability again. Already, though, he's killed a command center. Not to be underestimated at all. Arkel's in the front. I mean, EMP is good against them too. I guess he's got a lot of ghosts, so he can EMP for days. Still, though, those storms need to be addressed, and he keeps on trying to tag the High Templar, but every time he knocks one of the High Templar out of energy, there seem to be another 6 that do have energy for storm available. Does he actually want to go into the main? Is that the plan? I don't know. It's a little risky. Classic remaking some of the workers too. Trying to make sure that there is continuous mining over there on that base. Planetary Fortress will be an anchor for Clem to fall back to. Classic not sure if he can really engage into it, but most of those bio units are looking so incredibly low. They're all like 1 storm away from death. I guess every bio unit is always 1 storm away from death, just by default. New orbital commando is available. Some of the High Templar overly ambitious. That Archon is not going to finish, and indeed the High Templar will go down. New Colossi coming up for Classic, though, and at this point the Viking numbers have dwindled. Only 5 of them remain. Clem doesn't have a lot of income. Only 37 workers remain. Still, though, the Planetary Fortress is extremely good, but guess what? Storm is even better. New Vikings do spawn, but they're going to get sniped pretty much immediately. Prism goes down, and Clem does not feel like he can actually stop the flood. What a way to play it out. So Classic shows us that he's extremely good in playing a straight-up game, a bit of a wild and a wacky game, and then also play from behind. I feel like the main takeaway is just very aggressive movement in general, and a heavy focus on Psystorm. Like at this point, right, if you look at these games, like Classic is playing so good that you wonder, like, how do you even deal with it as a Terran player? Like, what do you even change?